Hey, welcome to Pastor Ryan. Thanks for checking this station out. This is your weekly podcast where we post on Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays, we walk through a passage or a chapter of the Bible. We pull the truths of God out so we can apply it to our lives. Thursday is This Day in History, where we check out big events, births, deaths that impact the world around us. Hey, don't forget to check back often each week. Like, share, subscribe. Love God, love people, make disciples. Welcome back to Pastor Ryan. We are starting something new tonight with my good friend, Brion Rector. Typically, another person would be here, Dusty Foster. He's Dustin on social media. Did you know that? He's sick, but he's getting through that, and he's recovering, and so we wish him well, and we're praying for him. We're going to try to do this like a monthly kind of thing where we talk about ministry, just life in general. I met Brion and Dusty both, 2003-ish.
Somewhere around there,
roughly 17 years ago, 18 years ago, golly. And so we've all been kind of in ministry, doing ministry since that time. And so I really want to kind of pull our brains together and talk about just ministry, life, family, all that kind of stuff. And so 30 minutes or less, that's our goal. And we're going to each have 3 questions that we kind of fill the space with and talk about anything else. I'll be the first one, since it's my podcast, to ask the 3 questions. We don't know the questions in advance. They're just kind of from the heart, from the head, experiences, and just hopefully this edifies the listener and just shares joy of ministry, even pains of ministry, headaches of ministry, that we can learn and grow together. And so I want to start with this. I want to start with a verse. This is my favorite verse of all time. It's Philippians 1:6, and it says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." Paul is talking to the church. He's talking to those who have placed their faith and trust in Jesus. And he says, if you've done this, God has started this work in you, and he's going to carry it through until the end of your days. And so it's a really comforting verse to me. It's a comforting verse to the church. And so I will start, and then Brion, I'll let you do an introduction for yourself, and we will puppet Dusty's response. Either you or I will do that. But I have been in ministry since 2000. I started as an intern for a youth ministry at Richmond, Kentucky, and learned a lot under the youth pastor there, Jeff Prosser, who went on to be associate pastor. I think he's doing collegiate ministry now. And so, but been doing ministry all through almost 21 years now, of just different positions, different things. And Brion, you will attest this. I think Dusty would too, that I have tried everything else in life. Like I have had so many different positions, but I keep finding myself in ministry at the same time of doing different things. And so, but met Dusty at Boys College. We were all kind of in the youth ministry track or ministry track there. We volunteered ministry together at approved sites. You can talk more about that if you want to. But good friends ever since. We've all 3 kind of moved in different directions, but we're still find ourselves, connected and just, really good friends. And so I really appreciate that. So that's my introduction. I guess that's kind of a little bit of an introduction. Brion, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks for asking me to come. This is kind of fun to do. I like to listen to a lot of different podcasts, so it's fun to actually be doing one. I have had the privilege and pleasure of knowing Ryan, like he said, for 17 or 18 years. I've been in ministry off and on over that time frame. Unfortunately, I have more T-shirts from Boys College than I do degrees.
Nice.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I did not graduate, but I've done youth ministry. Currently doing adult ministry now since 2010 in the same location. And so bivocational, I guess you could say, just in a teaching pastor role. I teach Bible study on Wednesday nights to our adults, but I started out in youth ministry and did young adult ministry for a while, and then moved to adults probably, I don't know, a number of years ago that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. And so like I said, known Ryan and Dusty both for a long time. Cool fun fact about Ryan, Dusty, and I, we are all the other half of a set of twins.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, three people that I've met that are all twins. It's kind of cool.
yeah, that's a little fun fact that we like to share every now and then. So, I think that's part of the reason why we get along so well is because we understand brotherhood and we understand the frustrations of having siblings that close and whatnot. So, but yeah, just working with One Community Church in Clarksville, Indiana.
Hey, you got a
And
really
bring
nice logo too. Your church has a really cool logo. I don't know if you want to share
Actually,
anything about
we
that.
got rid of that one a long time ago. It's kind of dorky. No, we Ryan did make that logo for us. He did a great job. We use it exclusively on the website. If you go to onecommunity.church, yeah, we're that people. And we actually got a .church URL or TLD when they became available a couple of years ago. So we wanted to try to be cool,
It's cool.
but yeah,
It's cool.
so that's my story.
Nice. Dusty, similar story. From Modesto, California, traveled all the way to Louisville, Kentucky, for the calling that God had on his life, to start the youth ministry track. Still in ministry. He moved away. What was the first place he moved away from? He went to Indiana.
Yeah, he went to Indiana and then Iowa, I think.
Iowa, and now he's back in Illinois.
Correct.
Is it Illinois? Yeah. So he's been consistent in ministry. I think he's full-time worship / associate / youth / kind of do it all pastor. Hopefully he'll be on the next podcast. And we're just going to go ahead and say he's going to be on the next podcast with us. And so here we go. The three questions we'll start out. Number one, what has sustained you in ministry? So I know it's a tough question. If you want to start, you can start, or I can start, either way. But what has sustained you in ministry throughout this time? You said you were what? Was it off and on, or were you pretty consistent from ministry since we met?
I took a break from about 2006 until 2010. But the consistent thing that I've had is my bride, who has supported me, and always been there and kind of been my guiding force and saying, hey, dummy, this is not a smart idea. Or, hey, that was a terrible sermon you did, and things like that, all lovingly. And she has been, what has sustained me and helped me stay focused and keep my head, where it needs to go. So, but that, and also good friends. I've known our senior pastor now for 20 years almost. And so we've worked together probably half of that time. So that has come in really handy. Just longevity of friendships and my bride.
Yeah. Fun fact, since we're going to do fun facts, Andy, Dusty, Brian, and I all served with you guys. What was it? Colgate Baptist Church, which was a really cool experience for me. Just seeing, I don't want to say it was like a family oriented church, but it was, I think it was a family type church.
There was some nepotism for sure.
Yeah. But it was really good. It was a really good experience. The under Andy, the youth ministry was huge in that area. And I think he used a lot of that just ministry knowledge and experience and planted one community church, which you guys are still rocking it strong. So that's been awesome. And you mentioned the wife. I think that's key. I think a lot of people don't really think about that aspect of it. If your bride is not in it, it's going to be really tough, right? And so I think all three of us has really been blessed with wives that have been, I think, equally called to ministry and support of us as we go throughout this. Sustained for me, I would probably have to agree. It's definitely, family, bride, children, just that love Jesus and that want to be a part of the church. It's hard to kind of walk away when your family wants to go to church, right? It's just kind of hard. Other things,
it's hard to pull them along when they don't want to go sometimes.
Yeah. That's pretty. That's wise. Sustains. I think it's the experience that I had with godly pastors, godly youth pastors. Friends who are in ministry that have planted little nuggets along the way on just how to reach out to people or minister to people. And I think just seeing people love Jesus is just something that's you can't find anywhere else, right? You can go get a job and just be like, I'm the best salesman, whatever. But it's not the same thing as seeing somebody else's life changed by, Jesus. I mean, it's a really cool experience. Number 2, what have been your challenges in ministry? Don't name name names, but what are some of the bigger challenges, or just, a few challenges just in ministry in general, if that makes sense? Hopefully that makes sense.
No, absolutely. One of the biggest challenges I've had is trying not to keep up with the Joneses. Meaning, like, you see what somebody's doing, you see their success, and, trying not to copy that, trying to be content with where you're at and what you're doing. So that way you don't want to copy people, obviously, but, you don't want to get so focused in numbers and great programs and stuff like that you forget about the purpose and mission and why you're there.
That's big. So there's a big church in our area in Louisville, Kentucky, and they have 9, 10, 11 campuses now. One of the campuses just
It could be 9, 12, 14.
It's a lot. Let's just say it's a lot. It's the Mecca on 64, but they have planted so many.
Let's just say they're not in the Southeast anymore.
Nice. There is a church. They just planted a campus here in Shelby County, Kentucky. And the first Sunday, according to their own printed paper, 1,600 people on the first Sunday. And you can't help but wonder, like, what are we doing? What are they doing that we could use to maybe reach that many people, right? But I think that was very smart. What you just said, just trying to keep up with other churches, because you can't, right? I mean, there's just no possible way to do that. You're with a specific group of people in a specific area. You're just not going to do the same things. That's big. What any other challenges you can think of, off the top of your head?
So one of the things that, our church did when we came into existence, we merged with another body of believers. And so we had some challenges, theologically, we had challenges, worship stylologically, if that's a word.
What was it? Was it the same denomination or was it different?
No, they were General Baptist, which was more Baptist-costal in nature. And so, I mean, we're non-denominational, but our statement of faith is BFM. We were very clear about that. So, it's at the very bottom of it. It says pulled from the Baptist Faith and Message. So we just don't give the CP. We're not a part of association. But if you were to ask us, we would say Southern Baptist secretly, I guess. I don't know. But it was just a struggle because they had done things one way. The church had existed since the 70s in some different various shape, forms, and fashion. So it was just hard to get them to see where we were coming from, and it was hard for us to see where they were coming from. Sure. The biggest things that were going on, though, is they have what we needed in a space, and we have what they needed in people. And so we figured out a way to make it work. God did some amazing things in it. So
that's cool, because you see churches that are, I mean, apparently it's all over the news, like churches just dying off, right? Especially the Southern Baptist type style of conservative churches, which we could talk about other articles out there too that show the opposite of that. But is it fruitful? Let's just do this for somebody that might be listening. Is it fruitful for a church that's maybe dying off in numbers to look for? Would you recommend it? Like, hey, reach out to another church and just combine, or is it a hard road for some?
I think it can be a much simpler road in the SBC community, just due to the nature of shared, doctrinal statements and shared.
Same denominations, maybe. Okay.
Right. But it's also hard though too, because it would be easier if you have a church that's been meeting in a school setting, say, for 5 or 6 years.
So no land, no building.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely makes it easier. But for two to come together, it would be easier if it's same denomination. Maybe there was no building and things like that. So.
Yeah, definitely. Any other challenges?
No, just day-to-day stuff. It's a struggle sometimes. being fully employed and sermon prep and Wednesday night prep, that can be complicated, which I know you understand as well.
Yeah.
But that can be a struggle sometimes, but that's all comes back on me for time management. So
Yeah. So we didn't mention that. I don't know if you mentioned that in your intro, but bivocational, right?
Technically, yeah, not salary wise. I'm not
Sure,
actually
sure,
paid
sure,
by the church. So yeah, but
sure.
bivocational, yeah.
I think you and I have both been in that boat since we met. I think.
Right. Yeah.
I think Dusty is the only one that's been consistently full time.
Right.
I had a stint where I was full time in Georgia. That's another story for another time. Loved my experience there. Just way outside of my experience level. But one of the challenges you said just then was just the difficulty of working full time. We'll say for the man, and then trying to prep and prepare for God and His service, right? Service to Him with a local church.
And
That's
also
a
my
huge,
first congregation as well, family at home too. So
yeah, and family, and now you have a young daughter, right? I mean, it's just
mhm.
so it's it's tough, especially for the person that's doing both or all
Mhm.
three. Let's say all three. So I mentioned a little bit before, you know this about me, but there at a time I was doing 2, 3 jobs, volunteering, and then doing church stuff. I think that's a huge challenge, especially for bivocational, part-time ministers, that kind of thing. Um, what what would you say? What would be some advice for that challenge? Time management. You mentioned that. I think that's a good one. Make
Right.
sure you can figure out your time management. Right. I think we even learned that or heard that a lot in Boyce. Is just we all the same time. Right. Just some use it better than others. So that's big. What other advice would you give to somebody maybe doing part-time ministry and full-time, work, and then even family?
Healthy boundaries and learning how to say no.
Nice. Is that for just ministry boundaries and how to say no with ministry, or is that even
All the
family?
above. That's
Okay.
all. That's all the above.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you got to know, you got to set aside, family time is family's time. We don't let things interrupt that. Work time is work time. Church time is church time. Just figuring out how to balance all that. It's still a juggle session for me.
Good.
But I've kind of, I do, when it's preaching week, I sometimes build in time to my calendar at work where I can read or study or whatever, and things like that. So, there is that option there as well. So,
Yeah, yeah. So definitely that. I heard a pastor, I don't know who it was specifically, but he said he has given his wife a like trump card, right? So anytime
mhm,
his wife sees him just overdoing it, maybe in ministry or civilian job, I say civilian job, but employment, the wife can say, "Hey, here's the trump card. You need to spend time with us or family or even her, date
that's
night kind of
huge.
thing." Yeah, so I think that's a good. I think I would employ that in the future, but I can't remember. I wish I could remember who it was from. Last question. This will be fairly quick, I guess. Where do you see yourself 5, 10 years from now?
Probably pretty much doing the same thing I'm doing now, and I'm completely okay with that. At one time, vocational ministry was my goal. But I really enjoy the opportunities that I'm given. I have an incredible job that blesses me and allows me to do great and wonderful things. And so, Hope is a teacher, so we have that privilege and blessing as well to have some time off in the summer. And so, I can't complain. I like to fill in for. I have a friend who used to ask me to fill in for him from time to time, and that could be a fun thing to do. But I'm pretty content where I'm at, and so if God opens a door, then I'll definitely walk through it. But right now, I don't see anything wrong with what I'm doing, so I can't complain.
No, yeah, that's good. For me, I really have felt called to ministry. I've tried to get away. I've tried everything that I could think of, and yeah, I still am drawn back to just ministry and just serving and doing what I can to help people. Just understand scripture, apply it, that kind of thing. I really, really, really do feel that I'm called to do that. I would love it for it to be full time, one day. But again, I think the same thing. If it's not in the cards, it's not in the cards. I'll be content. It's tough, right, to not be full time,
It is.
but it's definitely beneficial, I think, to see ministry, and then also see where a lot of our people are, right? Just working Monday through Friday, day in, day out, that kind of thing. So you can kind of feel both sides. And I think connect more with folks that have to go through that. So that's it. 30 minutes. We're a little under 30 minutes, actually. But the next time, Brian, you're going to be the next time. It's your 3 questions next time. If you have any questions, for those of you who are listening or watching this, type it, send it. We'll look at them and then add them to the next kind of. See you guys next time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. As always, love God, love people, make disciples. See you, Brian.
See you, buddy.
Thanks, man.